Welcome to Health 2660. Here we don't just talk about health, we tell the stories that heal. Now please listen to the story. Arthur, a man etched with the stories of 72 years, lived a life of comfortable routine. He woke with the sun, brewed his strong black coffee, and settled into his worn armchair with the morning paper. For decades, his diet had been a tapestry of familiar choices, some considered healthy, others simply convenient. One constant, almost an unconscious habit, was his reliance on cheap vegetable oil. It was the oil he used for everything: frying his eggs, sautéing vegetables, even drizzling over his salads, believing it was a neutral, healthy option. He'd seen it in countless commercials, always portrayed as light clean and heart healthy. Why question something so ubiquitous, so seemingly endorsed by modern wisdom? His body, however, had begun to whisper dissenting opinions, subtle at first, then growing louder. A persistent ache settled in his knees, a dull throb that worsened with each passing year. Bloating became a regular post-meal companion, making him feel sluggish and uncomfortable. Fatigue clung to him like a damp cloth, sapping his energy and enthusiasm. And then there was the brain fog, a frustrating inability to focus, to recall names, to follow conversations with the ease he once possessed. He attributed these ailments to old age, accepting them as inevitable signs of decline. His routine checkup with Dr. Albright was unremarkable until the blood test results came back. "Your cholesterol is elevated, Arthur." Dr. Albright said, his brow furrowed slightly. "And your inflammation markers are quite high. We need to address this." He prescribed a statin and recommended a low-fat diet, reinforcing Arthur's existing belief in the healthiness of vegetable oil. He went home feeling vaguely worried, but ultimately reassured by the doctor's familiar advice. It was his granddaughter, Emily, a bright and inquisitive nutrition student who shone a new light on his situation. Emily visited every Sunday for lunch. She noticed Arthur's increasing stiffness and his frequent complaints about digestive discomfort. One Sunday, as Arthur was liberally pouring vegetable oil into a frying pan, Emily gently intervened. "Grandpa, have you ever considered that the oil you're using might be contributing to your health problems?" Arthur scoffed. "Vegetable oil? What's wrong with vegetable oil? It's what everyone uses." Emily patiently explained, "Not all fats are created equal, Grandpa. Highly processed oils like vegetable corn and soybean oil are primarily composed of omega-6 fatty acids. While omega-6s are essential, the problem is the imbalance. Our modern diets are already overloaded with omega-6s, and when we consume excessive amounts, it can promote chronic inflammation throughout the body." Arthur frowned. "Inflammation? What does that have to do with my aching knees and foggy brain?" "Everything, Grandpa," Emily replied. Chronic inflammation is linked to a whole host of health problems, including joint pain, digestive issues, fatigue, cognitive decline, and even heart disease. And those oils are often processed using harsh chemicals, leaving behind residues that can further contribute to inflammation. Arthur was skeptical. He had always trusted mainstream medical advice and advertising. This sounded radical. "So what am I supposed to use instead?" he asked, his voice laced with doubt. Emily smiled reassuringly. "There are plenty of healthier alternatives, Grandpa. Extra virgin olive oil is a great option for drizzling and light sautéing. Avocado oil has a higher smoke point, making it suitable for frying. And then there are saturated fats, like ghee, and even traditional animal fats, like pork lard. These have been demonized for years, but recent research suggests They may not be as harmful as we once thought, especially when consumed in moderation as part of a balanced diet. Arthur's mind reeled. Lard! His grandmother used to cook everything with lard. He remembered the aroma of her Sunday roasts, the crispy crackling, the rich, satisfying flavor. He had always associated it with unhealthy indulgence, a relic of a bygone era. The idea that it could actually be better for him than the supposedly healthy vegetable oil was almost inconceivable. Lard. He repeated, his voice tinged with disbelief. But cholesterol. Emily nodded. It's true that saturated fats can raise cholesterol levels, but it's more complex than that. There are different types of cholesterol, and saturated fats primarily raise HDL, the good cholesterol. Plus, the source of the fat matters. Lard from pasture-raised pigs, for example, contains more beneficial nutrients than lard from conventionally raised pigs. Emily continued to patiently explain the science behind fats, the importance of balancing omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, and the benefits of consuming whole, unprocessed foods. She emphasized that everyone's body is different, and what works for one person may not work for another. But she strongly urged him to experiment with healthier fats and see if it made a difference. Arthur, despite his initial reservations, was intrigued by Emily's passion and her evidence-based arguments. He decided to give it a try. He started by replacing his vegetable oil with extra virgin olive oil for salads and light cooking. The flavor was a revelation, a rich, fruity, almost peppery note that enhanced the taste of his food. He then purchased a jar of avocado oil for frying. It was more expensive, but he justified it as an investment in his health. Though the oils and fats he now used cost a bit more, he realized he needed less of them. Real fats were satisfying, and a little went a long way, both in flavor and nutrition. The most difficult switch was the lard. He hesitated for days, remembering all the negative messages he had absorbed over the years. Finally, driven by a combination of curiosity and desperation for relief from his aches and pains, he took the plunge. He bought a small container of locally sourced lard from a farmer's market. The aroma was surprisingly pleasant and clean. He used it to fry his eggs the next morning. The eggs cooked perfectly, developing a golden brown crust and a rich, savory flavor he hadn't experienced in years. He added a dollop to his mashed potatoes, lending them a creamy, decadent texture. He even used a small amount to sauté some vegetables. The results were undeniable. His food tasted better than it had in a long time. But the real surprise came in the following weeks. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, his joint pain began to subside. The bloating diminished, and his digestion improved. He found himself sleeping more soundly, waking up feeling refreshed and energized. And the brain fog began to lift, allowing him to think more clearly and focus more easily. He felt like a younger version of himself, more vibrant, more alive. He felt more emotionally balanced too. No more cloudy moods or irritability. It turns out the brain is nearly 60% fat, and the kind of fat we eat truly matters. He later learned that processed oils can disrupt gut bacteria, while traditional fats like lard and bone broth help nourish the gut lining and promote microbial balance, key to digestion, immunity, and even mood. At his next checkup with Dr. Albright, the doctor reviewed his blood test results with a look of astonishment. Arthur, your cholesterol has improved significantly, and your inflammation markers are down. What have you been doing? Arthur smiled. I changed my oil, doc. He explained Emily's advice and his experiment with healthier fats. Not only had his cholesterol improved, but Arthur also noticed fewer energy crashes after meals. Emily explained that healthy fats help stabilize blood sugar, reducing insulin spikes and keeping his metabolism steady. Dr. Albright, a traditionally trained physician, remained skeptical. "I'm glad you're feeling better, Arthur, but I still recommend staying on the statins. And I'm not convinced that saturated fats are the answer." However, he couldn't deny the objective evidence of Arthur's improved health. Arthur continued to use a variety of healthy fats, including olive oil, avocado, oil, ghee, and lard. He discovered the joy of cooking with real natural ingredients, rediscovering forgotten flavors and textures. He felt a deep connection to his grandmother, remembering her traditional cooking methods and her unwavering belief in the power of whole unprocessed foods. He realized that her wisdom passed down through generations was far more valuable than the modern industrial oils he had blindly trusted for so long. He also started to research the history of fats and the demonization of saturated fats. He learned about Ansel Keys and his flawed research, which had fueled the anti-fat crusade for decades. He discovered that traditional cultures around the world had thrived on diets rich in saturated fats, and that the rise of processed foods and vegetable oils had coincided with a dramatic increase in chronic diseases. One day, Emily brought him a book titled Deep Nutrition: Why Your Genes Need Traditional Food. He devoured it, fascinated by the science behind traditional diets and the importance of nutrient-dense foods. He learned about the 4 fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, K2, and E, and their crucial role in maintaining health. He discovered that lard, especially from pasture-raised pigs, was a rich source of these vitamins. He was surprised to learn that vitamin K2, abundant in pastured lard and ghee, helps direct calcium into bones instead of arteries, supporting both heart and bone health. He also learned about the importance of bone broth, another traditional food his grandmother used to make. Bone broth is rich in collagen, gelatin, and minerals, which are essential for joint health, gut health, and immune function. He started making bone broth, regularly simmering bones for hours to extract their nourishing goodness. He began to feel more energetic and vibrant than he had in years. He started taking long walks in the park, tending to his garden, and spending more time with his friends and family. He felt a renewed sense of purpose and a deep appreciation for life. Arthur's transformation wasn't just physical, it was also mental and emotional. He felt more connected to his past, to his family, and to the natural world. He realized that health wasn't just about the absence of disease. It was about wholeness, balance, and connection. Health 2660. Thanks you for listening. We'll see you in the next video. And until then, be kind to yourself.